All right, so last recording I showed you how to set up your introduction, your how to format the paper. We also worked on our works cited and got that all squared away. Just a quick note, there were a couple of things that I revised. I did some rewording in my introduction. My title was super long, so I shortened it down a little bit. And then as I was going through my works cited page, I noticed that I was missing some page numbers for one of my sources. And so I had to go back and look up this source, and I've got the URL right there, so it was really easy. And I was able to fix the citation. Sometimes EasyBib isn't 100% accurate, so sometimes you have to go back and actually manually fix citations. So today, your assignment is to write your first and second body paragraph. So by the end of today, you should have your introduction plus body paragraph 1 plus body paragraph 2. And as always, I did some pre-writing because it's like I get a little nervous when I have to type in front of the recording, and it just saves some time. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the first body paragraph that I pre-wrote and copied into my document. And there are a couple of things I want to point out. So our thesis statement that I have highlighted right here, Robin Lakoff is a leader because she established modern feminist sociolinguistics. She is an activist and she is a phenomenal educator. That thesis statement, again, tells your reader exactly what you're talking about in the order you're going to talk about it. So first I'm going to talk about this point, then I'm going to talk about her being an activist, then I'm going to talk about her being an educator. Okay, so whenever we begin a body paragraph, we always have a transitional word or phrase, and I'm going to highlight that in blue, and we have our topic sentence. And let me go ahead and highlight that topic sentence in yellow. Okay, so I said my first main idea was going to be she established modern feminist sociolinguistics. So my first topic sentence says, to begin with, Robin Lakoff is given credit for establishing modern feminist sociolinguistics. So you're kind of just essentially repeating what you said in your thesis statement. Okay, and on our lesson plan slides, I just copied some really concise, brief, transitional words and phrases that are really good for a 5-paragraph essay. You can just Google transitional words and phrases and get lists of hundreds of different things that you could use. But there are just a couple that you could use for this essay. All right, so I have my topic sentence for my first body paragraph, and then using the graphic organizer that we filled out in class. Okay, so using the graphic organizer that we filled out in class, and here's a picture of my first body paragraph and second body paragraph notes. I literally drafted this paragraph just based on the notes that I had filled out. So if you just follow this graphic organizer line by line, sentence by sentence, you'll do a great job. It's set up for you to meet at least proficient in your essay. So you start with your topic sentence, you introduce a quote or a paraphrased chunk of material, you explain why that's important, you go on to introduce another quote or paraphrased chunk of material, explain why that's important, and then your last sentence in your body paragraph should be wrapping everything up, talking about why it's important. So let me just go through and read what I wrote, and I'm also going to talk a little bit about how I cited some of that material. So again, here we go. So I have my transition, I have my topic sentence that she was given credit for establishing modern feminist sociolinguistics, and then I go on to introduce my first paraphrased chunk of material. So before she published her study titled Language in Women's Place, the idea that language could be gendered or that male and female linguistic indicators existed in spoken and written language wasn't a formal area of study. Ooh, and I have a contraction here. In informal essay writing, we do not use contractions, so I had to change that from wasn't to was not. Continuing on, Lakoff indicated the following categories in which women communicate differently than men: hedging, politeness, tag questions, emotional emphasis, empty adjectives, correct grammar, lack of humor, direct quotations, extended vocabulary, and declarations with an interrogative intonation. And that list of items came from this source, Women's Language. And if you scroll down to my Works Cited page, that source is right here. And remember, the stuff that goes inside of the parenthetical citation is whatever comes out on the left-hand margin of your Works Cited page. Okay, so that is what I put in my parenthetical citation within my essay. Okay. So then I'm going to explain that paraphrase chunk of information. Although new in 1974, these categories are now considered commonplace today. Tagged language, for example, means that women tend to add questions to the end of declarative statements, which tends to make them sound less authoritative or certain in a conversation. And here's an example, quote, "John is here, isn't he?" End quote. And that entire example came from this source, Lakoff Talking Like a Lady, page 10. So when I scroll down to my Works Cited page, there it is, Lakoff Talking Like a Lady, and I had a page number because it was a scholarly journal article. And again, when you're citing, on your Works Cited page, if you have more than one source written by the same author, you have to distinguish or differentiate which source it came from. So that's where you borrow the title of the article as well. Sometimes you can shorten it too. Okay, so I have an example of a paraphrase chunk of information. I have an example of a direct quote from a piece of information. And continuing on, a man would typically just ask the question, "Is John here?" This is all important because it introduced the idea that the very words we speak have power to shape how others perceive and treat women. Current feminists like Sheryl Sandberg, Chief Operating Officer of Facebook and author of Lean In, talk about how women are actually discriminated against in the workplace because they are seen as meek, passive, and less of a go-getter than their male counterparts, partially due to the language they have been conditioned to use. All right, so that was my first body paragraph. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my second body paragraph and plop it into my essay. And again, I am just following the format set out in our graphic organizer. So if you follow that format, you will rock this essay. And I'm not going to read the entire paragraph to you. I will point out that here is my transitional phrase, "another reason." So let me highlight that in blue. And here is the rest of that topic sentence from my second body paragraph. So let me highlight that in yellow. So altogether it reads, "Another reason Lakoff is a leader is that she is a researcher, advocate, and activist for women's rights." And if I scroll up to my thesis statement, I said I was going to talk about her being an activist in my second body paragraph. So my second body paragraph topic sentence says just that. Within my second body paragraph, I have an example of a direct quote from a source, but if you notice at the very end, I don't have a parenthetical citation because I actually introduce that before I give the quote right here, "Words Count," from the Huffington Post by Robin Lakoff. And if you scroll down to my Works Cited page, you can tell that it came from this source right here, Lakoff, "Words Count." All right, so that's another way to work with textual support. And my second chunk of information in this paragraph is just a chunk of paraphrased information. And there's the parenthetical citation for that. Okay, one last thing I'm going to point out is that if you look at the length of my first body paragraph, okay, you can kind of see how long that first body paragraph is. compared to my second body paragraph, you can see that my second body paragraph is a little shorter than my first body paragraph. And there's this thing that we talked about last quarter, and it's called parallel structure. And that just means that you should, that things should be the same or equal. So I'm probably, before my next screencast, I will go to this second body paragraph and beef it up a little bit so it has the same weight or the same length as my first body paragraph. That's called parallel structure. All right, so by the end of class today, you are going to write 2 body paragraphs. You're going to submit them to the Google form that's sitting in your email account. And your exit ticket out the door is to have your body paragraphs scrolling up on the active board on this document. All right, thank you.